When we talk about footballing heritage in the Champions League, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich are usually two of the first names on most people's lips. With 20 European Cups between them, 14 for Madrid and 6 for Bayern, this game is dubbed the European Clasico and is the most played fixture in Europe's premier club competition. These two sides have met on a total of 26 occasions, with the earliest one coming in the semi-finals of the 1975-76 season, 48 years ago. Madrid have 12 wins, while Bayern have 11, with 3 matches ending in draws. Going into the latest iteration of this bitterly fought rivalry, there is little to choose between the two teams historically. This will also be the sixth time these teams face off in the semi-final stage of the competition in the last 25 years, with the winners going on to lift the trophy on all but one occasion, in 2012, when Bayern were beaten in their own backyard by Chelsea in the final. Sorry, but I simply had to mention that. Speaking of this season specifically, the two teams have had very different fortunes. For the first time in 12 years, Bayern have failed to win the Bundesliga title, being trumped by the magnificent Bayer Leverkusen. To add to that, there has been constant unrest in the club's board of management, talks of divisions in the dressing room, and a general dissatisfaction with the head coach, Thomas Tuchel. For Real Madrid, this season couldn't have gone any better under the circumstances. Despite long-term injuries to crucial players such as Thibaut Courtois, Eder Militao, and David Alaba, along with the absence of a recognized centre forward following the departure of Karim Benzema last summer, Carlo Ancelotti's men have lost just 2 games in all competitions so far. They have the La Liga title all but secured, with an 11-point lead over Barcelona with 5 games left to play, and are in the semi-finals of the Champions League for the 12th time in the last 14 seasons. Despite all the trials and tribulations this season for Bayern, Tuchel is one of the best managers in the world when it comes to cup competitions, and Real Madrid know that all too well. The German came up against the Spanish giants in back-to-back seasons during his time at Chelsea, beating them resoundingly in 2021 and almost overturning a 2-goal deficit at the Santiago Bernabeu in 2022, a game in which the Galacticos ultimately scraped through after extra time. There are few better than Tuchel when it comes to setting up his team for a specific opposition, as Arsenal found out in the previous round. Despite being one of the most prolific teams in all of Europe in 2024, the Gunners were hardly able to get a sniff at the Bayern goal in the second leg, as the Bavarians won 1-0 at the Allianz Arena. Ancelotti's power of friendship football, on the other hand, is as unpredictable as it is effective. It is almost impossible to foresee what Real Madrid will do in a game, as their players are brilliant at taking advantages of situations as and when they arise. In the knockouts this year, they have lost 3 of the 4 games they have played based on expected goals against RB Leipzig and Man City. However, in the Champions League, this is a team that just finds a way to get it done like no other. After all, they have won this competition 5 times in the last 10 years, an absolutely staggering record. Ancelotti, on a personal level, is looking for his fifth title as manager, having won it twice each with AC Milan and Real Madrid. He also lifted the trophy twice as a player, in 1989 and 1990 with Milan. This is a tie that is very difficult to predict from the outset, as both Bayern and Real Madrid are teams that are most effective when sitting in a mid block and hitting on the counter attack. Against Arsenal and Man City, respectively, in the previous round, they were comfortable doing this as their opponents looked to dominate possession. With the first leg being in Germany, there will be more onus on Bayern to force the issue, something they haven't been adept at all this season, with their build up being notoriously slow and laboured. For Tuchel, injuries could dictate a lot of selections on Tuesday. Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, and Jamal Musiala all sat out Bayern's 2-1 win over Eintracht Frankfurt at the weekend, and it remains to be seen if they are available to start against Madrid. Rafael Guerreiro started on the left wing against Arsenal, with a view to defend that side of the pitch better. Gnabry, though, is a much more potent threat going forward. If either Zane or Musiala are unable to start, Thomas Muller will be in contention to be the number 10, behind Harry Kane. Konrad Leimer hobbled off with an injury in the first half on Saturday and is also a doubt. Teenager Alexander Pavlovich could hence be in line for a start if the Austrian isn't past fit. While Leimer is much more aggressive when it comes to pressing and covers more yards defensively, Pavlovic is arguably more comfortable on the ball and could be more useful with forward progression. Matthias de Ligt came off at halftime against Frankfurt and is reportedly going to be out for a while with a knee injury. This would mean a start for Kim Min Jae at centre back alongside Eric Dyer. For Real Madrid, the only absentee apart from Courtois and Alaba is Dani Carvajal, who is out through suspension. Lucas Vasquez, often the forgotten man at the club, will fill in at right back, and the Spaniard has proven time and time again that he is both willing and able to do the job whenever called upon. The other question is on who will partner Antonio Rudiger at centre back. Militao is coming back from a long term injury and played at the weekend in the win at Real Sociedad, but he might not be rushed back for a game of this magnitude. Aurelien Chouameni has played at centre back in recent weeks, but Ancelotti may need the Frenchman in defensive midfield to keep an eye on Kane dropping deep without drawing his centre backs out. This leaves Nacho to play alongside Rudiger. The 34-year-old, in his last season at the club, did a more than decent job keeping Erling Haaland quiet at the Etihad Stadium 2 weeks ago. With Real Madrid playing a midfield diamond, they often depend on their fullbacks to provide width. Hence, for Bayern, the most effective avenue of attack could be the wide areas. Kane will be a completely different proposition in comparison to Haaland for the Madrid backline, as the Englishman will look to drop deep into midfield and bring the quicker players around him into play. The likes of Musiala, Zane, and Gnabry can run in behind and are also extremely dangerous in one versus one situations, being excellent dribblers. It will be up to Federico Valverde and Rodrigo to track the Bayern fullbacks, which are likely to be Nusar Mazraoui and Joshua Kimmich. Kane himself, of course, is the most potent threat, with 42 goals in all competitions so far this season, to add to his 13 assists. Ancelotti, on the other hand, will look to exploit the central areas when Madrid transition. If Pavlovic starts alongside Leon Goretzka, there will be gaps to exploit, as neither midfielder is particularly adept at breaking play up. The visitors will have a 4v3 in the center of the park, and it will be interesting to see what Bayern do to nullify that overload. In all, this is likely to be a game without too many clear cut chances, and both sides will rely on moments of individual brilliance from the several stars on show. With the away goals rule no longer in play, the tie should still very much be in the balance going into the second leg in the Spanish capital next week.